So, welcome everybody to what I'm calling a Four Voices practice call. So, I have a series of calls. So I'm going to register you to the series. I don't know what the other dates are, so that you'll get a reminder for each one, and you just attend what you can. There will be an offer coming down the road, so do expect that. But I still want to know, how do you want this? So work with me over the next few weeks, and then I'll put an offer together for you. Okay. Here's how I want you to think about Four Voices. Four voices are like the four different, there might be, and this is not a finite number of domains that you inhabit, let's say, or through which you express your life, or through which your life is expressed, or through which your life wants to be expressed. But let's just say there are these four domains. There is your mental, your cognitive life, which includes, your imaginal space in ways as well. There's all of that life, and there is then your emotional life, and you have your spiritual life, and then you have your physical life, and your physical life is a life of the flesh, embodied life. So we have these four areas of your life that they all are interacting, and sometimes if you think of them almost like a family. Of all four voices, the mind is the one who, has been raised and shaped by cultures and experiences of its time. So essentially, mind is, and depending on where you're from and all of that, but mind generally has been raised by the patriarchy in the context of capitalism, in heteronormativity, neurotypicality, and hence is preloaded. If you imagine your mind as the software running the show, it has been preloaded by the likes of Elon Musk. And therefore, we have to be very careful about the programs that we are running in the background. And so mind voice acts like someone who was raised in and is kind of like all hail the patriarchy, because it's all about the rules. It's all about the thing. But also mind voice thinks that it is the only voice that can drive this thing. It thinks it's the head of the ship. So it's operating from that paternal or patriarchal power structure where it's like there's one boss and the rest of us are just like slaves. And so the mind is a product of that. It believes that there is a hierarchy. So very often when I'm coaching a client and I ask them, how do you feel? What's the emotion? The mind steps up to the fucking mic and it's like, well, I think that, and I feel like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, sir, we didn't ask you, because your emotional life doesn't talk like that. Your emotional life doesn't use sentences. So it speaks in emotion and emotional content. I could ask you a question, about your body, and mind will step up to the mic. So that's what we're dealing with a mind voice. And very often, most of us are being driven by the mind voice because that's what's normalized in society. We have kind of also been conditioned to be obedient to, and obedience is not a bad thing. For years, I thought obedience was the problem, and hence my solution was rebellion. But actually, what I learned over time is that obedience is something that the angels wish for us. If you have those angel cards, those small angel cards, you might have noted that one of the blessings is obedience. And I used to be like, why the fuck would you bless me with that? Like, no thanks. But I realized that it's not the character trait, it's not the trait or the virtue or the discipline of obedience that is the problem. It is that to which we have been conditioned to be obedient towards. We have been trained to seek and view authority as existing outside of us. And therefore, the mind is on that page. The mind believes itself to be the only authority, and it thinks it is the spokesperson for it, and it is very obedient to that authority, and that's its job. But think of it this way, that might be the way a man would run things. There's the head of the house, and the rest of us have our roles. And the man is, because he's the breadwinner, he doesn't have to do any fucking emotional work. And the rest is, the wife just does all that shit. The wife does all the parenting. The wife does all the housework. The wife does all the soft skills. Basically, the wife, or if you think about the feminine, so much is left to the feminine and not valued. I'm trying to point out the culture, the water that we are swimming in unknowns to ourselves, because we have been preloaded with software with implicit biases that ultimately make it impossible for us to ever experience anything like power unless we play it that way, which is inherently against our nature, which means I must take it from you in order to have it from me. And we just don't fucking play that way. Do you remember that in Living Colour? Like, homie, don't play that way. Like, it's just, this is a new set of laws. This is a new value system. We call it like old web, new web. This is my web. The web that I have been in for 50 years, that I've been fighting to try and fucking, you know, like, it never occurred to me that it was a web that was built on someone else's blueprint. And I'm in this web and it's falling apart and I'm trying to hold it together, not realizing that the web was never mine to begin with. And I can just let it go and build a new fucking web. And in my web, I get to say what the most important fucking thing is here. And we get to discuss what the most important things are here. And so a household run with this energy and with this feminine reclamation of power is a household where every fucking voice is heard. Who has problems with what? And it's not that we're going to railroad you because you're not good with it. We're going to figure out, like, why is this solution specifically not working for you? And if we can get specific with that, we can then become creative with the solution or with the strategy. It just gives us so much more scope. If you think as well of, like, if we are being run by our minds, our programming, our software, we have an internal dictatorship problem. We also have a tendency to try and solve our problems in a very take no prisoners kind of way, meaning we use willfulness to try and course correct. We use willfulness to try and heal ourselves even. We use the will of what? What's willful? The mind. They're all willful, by the way. All your voices are willful. Good luck trying to make anything happen when you have opposing wills going on inside you. It will drive you close to fucking insanity. And ask me how I know. I have, and we have been through this. So for example, let's just say you're trying to make a change in your life, a simple one, like a bedtime routine. You want to change habit. You want to quit drinking. You want to quit smoking, whatever it is. Mind is like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then devises an aggressive strategy and imposes its will on the rest of the system without ever consulting with body. How's my nervous system going to cope when I take this out of the picture? Never consulted, just decided that I was going to quit this thing that you've been regulating yourself with. So that's gone. The heart, it's like, I like enjoying food. Well, the mind is like, no, we have a strategy. We're going to do this thing. So now mind has pissed body off. Mind has pissed heart off. And soul is never going to side with anything like that. Soul will just sit back and just be like, here we go. She obviously she hasn't learned yet. And soul just kind of like sits back and lets it happen. I find soul maybe the hardest to put into words. Soul is almost like, it's not just you. Soul is something beyond you. And soul, I believe, it's the animating force. It is whatever this is that is unfolding in us all. That is like direction. And it can, and soul will communicate to you in all different, it's a shapeshifter. It can come in all different shapes and forms, but usually, she's your teacher and is very, very proud of you all the time for the lessons that you learn and fail to learn and learn again and get right and then get wrong. The other thing that's important about this work and really working across the voices is, so we have the willfulness of the mind imposing its strategies and imposing its agenda on the rest of the system without consent. We don't recognize this as a problem. Why? Because we've been raised by the fucking patriarchy, and the patriarchy doesn't give two fucking shits about consent. And we know this now. So it's up to us to care about consent. And so if I am to force my mind on another part of my being, my humanity, without consulting it, I can expect conflict and you can expect conflict. So how do we open those channels of communication between the different areas? And here's the thing, we don't want to make an enemy of mind, because mind doesn't know. Like, my dad used to say this about, like, why do you feed the dog food and the cat food? And I'd be like, well, probably a nutritional reason, but like I do it because he's a fucking dog and she's a cat. That's why I do it. And my dad's answer was always, yeah, but they don't know that. He doesn't know he's a dog. So it's like treating our parts like that, you know, just assumes that they're ignorant. You know, our parts do know. And the consent does matter. And especially if you want whatever change to happen to be a fucking peaceful one, or at least one that you can live with. I did an interesting exercise today at the gym. I brought my journal. I've never done that. I've never brought my journal to the gym because the gym is one of those places for me. It's always been a battleground for me. It's been a very hard place for me to be. But I have found a gym that is like just so like it's got my colors. You know, it's got like fucking lights and color, and it's like a playground, and I want to be there. But of course, I'm having experiences when I'm there, so I brought my journal and I checked in with my 4 voices. I was like, wow, my whole system is really scared here. You know, the whole lot of it. But at the same time, when I broke it down, I took a read on my body and it was all neutral. It was just information. It was just information. The body was like, legs are like jelly, sweating, feeling, you know, feel the adrenaline, you know, a bit wobbly. But it was all like my body just reported facts. Just reported information. And this whole time I'm thinking my body's having a terrible experience. It's not. It's literally just having an experience, giving me information. And then I checked on my heart and I was like, well, did you like this? And she's literally like that. She doesn't know. And the reason she's like that is because mind is going, no, that's burning, it's burning. That's what's happening. Mind is having a fucking breakdown because she was carrying something. So I diagnosed that today. I was like, oh, I was able to at least say the discomfort or the anxiety that rose in me today wasn't from my body. And then when I did get to my heart, because she was like this, she didn't know how to feel about it because mind is still out, and mind is very influential over heart. Very, very dominating over heart. Heart nearly always is like that little sibling who kind of like waits until mind decides what this is, until she feels something, until she chooses her emotion. That's, you know, so like we can very much get blocked in the heart space when the heart is walking on eggshells because of something that the mind is, you know, hasn't put to bed yet. What I did learn about heart, I caught her in the moment, because when I interviewed her later, she didn't tell me this, but I caught it in the moment. She was surprised. So that was the emotion. That was the only emotion I had at the gym today. The actual emotion, the true emotion. My body just reported information. My body had an experience. My heart was surprised because I did things that easier than I did the other day. But my mind was like, this isn't enough. It's never going to work. You'll never work hard enough to get what you want. It'll take forever. It'll blah, 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 blah. So mind is having a terrible time at the gym. So now I know, you know what I mean? Now I know where to look. And when I asked Soul, I was like, what do we fucking do here? What do you think? And there was just this long silence. And Soul just said, like, just dropped in and said, yeah, this is for all of us. Like, we all need to be on board. And it is for mind as well. So that gives me, I'm like, oh, right. Well, now I have to figure out, I'm like, how do I bring mind around to seeing that this is for her? You know, so I don't really know yet, because this isn't an exact science. But do you see how bringing your journal or bringing the 4 voices to a specific situation can allow you to really have a new experience with it, even in terms of your curiosity, and even in terms of, because I'm not going to go up into my mind for I'm not going to always have to rely on my mind for the solution, you know, because that was a very wise thing. Like, I feel like there was more to it. My soul was just like, or the soul voice was just like, you know, you'll work it out. This is for all of you. So this isn't about her having to endure something terrible. And now I'm like, oh, okay, well, what needs to happen there then, you know, for that to be fun for her, instead of just fucking having to go and white knuckle it, which never works. I'll figure that out. I will figure that out. Okay, so the patriarchal blueprint, right, and the willfulness of the mind, preloaded with all of its social biases and insisting that we perform and behave in certain ways. Performance is a very unfulfilling way to live your life. A performance of self pales in comparison to an expression of self. An expression of self is something that you practice when nobody's looking. Performance is something that you switch on when, and we all do it. We're all capable of it. And we need to perform sometimes, because sometimes, the person at the checkout, you're just like, I fucking, if I was to not perform here, I'd fucking punch them in the face. So I'll just perform, some kind of tolerance in this moment or whatever it is. Like, I'm not saying that this is about dropping our social skill of masking and performing where necessary. We don't have to get in the deep with everybody. But when you are showing up to a relationship, when you're showing up to your art, when you're showing up to your career, when you're showing up to your life, you're going to have a very, 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 very different experience if that showing up is more performance, basically run by fear, than it is expression, which is bringing all the voices to the table. It's not a definitive guide. It's not a definitive thing, but I guess it's where my mind was today. I was like, well, what would I like you to understand about this today in terms of like why this matters and why it is important? And if you saw I did a reel the other day. I just got this idea to do like my 4 voices dancing. And I originally did it, like I did it very spontaneously. And it was actually a very interesting exercise because I had never done that before. I've never embodied these different aspects of me, and it was so easy to do. And I was like, wow, like I remember my first day in my, the therapist that stuck, let's say, the first day in that chair was a January morning or evening of 2010 on a Thursday. And she asked me, like, who are you? Tell me something about yourself. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm fat. I'm a fucking loser. Blah, blah, blah. Literally, this is all that came out of my mouth. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I have failed at this. I have failed at that. And I was convinced. I only had this realization recently that one of my programs is hatred. Now, I've caught hatred in there before, but I didn't realize that hatred is the lens that I learned to see myself through. And I've been giving that fucker a free ride this whole time. And I've called it. I thought I knew this voice. I called it Seamus. So I'm no longer calling it a name. I'm calling it the abuser, because stupid is as stupid does, and abusive is as abusive does. And so my abuser no longer gets a name. It gets called what it is, because I'm fucking done letting that go off when I'm at my most vulnerable. So the 4 voices is as much me coming back to this practice myself. If I do not check the voices I am taking guidance from and giving airtime to, and I don't work on, on their voices and on my relationship with them, I will destroy my life. It's as simple as that. It's as fucking simple as that.
The work that you're doing right now, the water reference, the ocean, the mermaid, the treasure chest, all of it, it's such a beautiful way to talk about this work. And what I enjoyed the other day was that you shared that you were doing watercolor for the first time. And I'm like, that tracks. That makes perfect sense.
The water metaphor, interestingly, would you believe, arose out of a 4 voices conversation with myself about going back into business, because that was not the plan. I walked away from this the end of 23. And I walked away with a lot of resentment, a lot of hurt, pretty sick. I wasn't well. And I went and I got my barista job, and I worked, and I got back in my body, and I got back in community, and, I came back around in time. But I was bidding for a job this year. I took a job on that. When I look at it now, it couldn't have worked. Couldn't have worked. I took on an impossible of course I did. Took on an impossible job. And when it didn't work out, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Knowing full well the only thing I could fucking do was to go back at this, because what else am I going to do? Like, literally, what else am I going to do? So, but my body was just like, absolutely not. No way. Absolutely not. And it was mostly my body that it came from. It was just like, we're not doing this again. And there were several spirals, and there still is. I'm still learning, you know what I mean? I still keep going at things the old web way and discovering, and running into the wall. running into the fucking wall. And I'm like, oh. So then, you know, I was like, okay, well then how is this, what needs to happen for this to feel the way it needs to feel for me to commit and get back in here and do this without all of the, I swear I have PTSD from the burnout. And next thing I just got this, like I already had my name, Ava. I just like it suddenly. It was like, well, the only way this will work if you do it, like just be a mermaid. Like literally just call it an underwater adventure. Make it fun. You're a fucking mermaid. You know these waters. See if there's anyone else who wants to learn the waters. And then just have a big fucking water park and call it after watery things and do watery things and just be a mermaid and have fun. And so that became the business model. I don't know actually if it's, I say body, but it was probably mine as well. That's part of my business model. And the mermaid is here somewhere too. Like I haven't even been able to properly use, like I haven't even been able to write fucking copy or nothing. It's just like, no, just draw it. Just draw it. Just dance it. Just fucking dance it. But I'm pretty sure that this water metaphor arose out of the solution that not all voices were on board with me coming back to work in a self-employed capacity. You know, if you do know me for my art, the thing I'm known for is this loose, messy, free, very free. I'm very free in my journal. Like when you watch me making art, it's literally just, it's very flowy, very free. And a lot of people say they love to watch me make art because it's just like, I just find a way around. It's very much like just like very casual. Like you don't even see anything happening. It's really weird how it's just constantly, it's like the way a plant grows. I got one of those prayer plants, and a prayer plant throughout the course of the day moves from literally this position to this position and fucking back again, right? I've sat in front of that plant, just been like trying to perceive any movement, and I can't fucking see. And then you leave the room and come back, and it's closed. You're like, when is this happening? You can't see it. So I think when you become very practiced at something, it's like that. You can't see it really because it's such imperceivable, tiny little ways that the practice now is integrating into your life. So when I am in my journal, I am very, very free and I'm all over the place and I'm confident and I, very relaxed and at ease. And then I take this out the other night and the watercolors, and suddenly I'm like, I was kind of like, oh, I got that, just the body memory of it being like, oh no, because I have, when I approach a canvas, it's like, oh no, it's something different about it. I'm not as comfortable there. But what I discover every time is that like I can be trusted because I have muscle memory built. It's the muscle memory that I have built in the low stakes every day. I'm just making art, I'm not like, I'm just having fun in my job. I'm just doing the drills. I'm doing the same shit over and over and over again in here. Same shit all the time. It kind of evolves, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's circles, it's scribbles, it's painting, and it's collage. Because I have a practice, I have kind of figured out how to get through lots of different situations. I know how to get past a ripped page. I know how to get past a smudged page. I know how to get past a page that has lost any kind of grip, that now it won't take a pencil or a pen onto it. Now I have figured out how to give that page a tooth without actually ruining any of it. I have learned how to push things back. I've learned how to quieten the noise. I've learned how to decide which part is worth losing, what to let go. I've learned all of that in here just by playing every day, and they're the drills. And so when I come out here onto the field, and it very much feels like a performance, like I'm coming up now to bat or whatever the thing is to take a hit at, and I'm like, the stakes are high now, But then I sit down and I discover that I know how to get through the mess, because it's always a fucking mess, and it doesn't get noticed in here because it's supposed to be messy. So this is where I make all of the mess, and I'm kind of learning how to work with mess and make it beautiful and make it interesting. And therefore I'm learning things like, torn page, not a problem, make it part of the art. Lose a page falls out, so the like every problem that could happen has happened in this book, and therefore when it happens here, I might panic for a second, but my muscle memory allows me to make choices in that moment and rescue the thing. Just goes to show you that you just don't know how mind is getting in your way, in the way of heart, in the way of body, in the way of soul. And if we don't have the practice of learning how to spot mind at work, how to redirect mind, how to know when heart is out there going, I don't know how to feel about this because mind is just literally freaking me, and heart is then missing out on her entire experience as a result. We have to learn how to detect when heart is getting fucking lost in the foray and rescue her. And we have to do the same for body. We have to advocate for body all the fucking time, all the time, you know, because mind will never consider body. As far as mind's concerned, body is a fucking mule and here to serve me and my agenda. Throw in an ADHD mind, you need to be a cognitive fucking gymnast to have some kind of dominion, some harmony in your dominion. This is essentially a communication model. Everything is preloaded. You have everything. Everything is there. It's a whole fucking map. We just haven't been taught to read it. I have another call booked for the 28th. If I give you homework, would you come to the call? Okay. Your homework for the next session is to take a photograph on your phone, either of, let's say, your front door or your entrance, you know, wherever your entrance space is. It could be outside your front door as you approach your front door. It could be just inside your front door, or it could be looking at your front door as you're exiting, right? So your front door, one photograph. You could just leave it in your phone, but you're going to need to be able to study it on the call. Or a full-length photo of yourself, but without no posing or nothing, like literally as you are now. In fact, if you're going to do this exercise, literally stand up after this call and just set your camera up and take a selfie, a full-length selfie, and don't even fucking think about it again until we get on the call next. Just let it sit in your camera roll. Or you could also do your creative space. Take a photo, like even right now, just whatever you're looking at right now. You could take that photo. So some kind of a photo of, you know, a place where, or your wardrobe, somewhere that you spend time, let's say, you know, it's somewhere that you are confronted with every day. So you're confronted with your front door every day. You're confronted with yourself every day, your own image, let's say. And you're confronted essentially with your, you know, whether it is your wardrobe or your bedroom or whatever it is, somewhere in space or something that you are. And we do this. This is not a shaming exercise. You're not to take photos and then be like, oh, I can't show that. You're not going to have to show your photo to anybody. Okay, we're going to use it as the thing that I will walk you through the Four Voices exercise with, because it's your life. So again, with my dancing video that I did very spontaneously and off the cuff and very just like I was like, fuck it, why not? Like, I'll just for the crack and I'll see if I could do it. And I did it very fast. But it also was, so even somatically speaking, it was a very interesting exercise to do. If you want to do that, dress yourself as your Four Voices and see what that feels like, you know. Next time you're eating a meal and just be like, which one of my Four Voices chose this for me? Do we all have a say? Or has mind got me on another fucking diet? You have your homework. And I will send out reminders and I'll send out this replay. And okay, I'm going to go now. Bye!